We are live, and we are very excited about this roundtable discussion hosted by Professor Maria Assif from the University of Scarborough and Professor Susan Crosby from Oman. They brought wonderfully inspiring and insightful students from Canada and Brazil who will be sharing with us their experience. I'm sorry for the distractions. We'll be talking today about the future educators, transition from classroom to teaching, and we will hear experiences from the students and recently graduated students who already started their teaching careers from Brazil and Canada. We do have a lot of students preparing for their teaching careers from all over the world, and we definitely encourage you to engage in discussions within the chat or within the Dhuha app after the discussion. Please do not interrupt the discussion and speakers when they are speaking. And I would like to give this virtual stage to Professor Susan and Professor Maria now to introduce themselves and to invite the students to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Assif. I am Associate Professor of English at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. I'm also the Faculty Advisor of the Combined Degree BA in English, Master of Teaching at OISE, which is the Ontario Institute of Education. Thank you, and wonderful to be here. Susan?
Hi, I'm Dr. Susan Crosby. I'm recently retired from being an assistant professor at Dhofar University in Salalah, Oman, but I just wasn't ready to retire. So I was accepted to be a fellow in the United States Department of State's fellow program. And my first position was a virtual fellow, and I ended up in Brazil for 4 months virtually. I've just finished 3 months in India, and I'm being interviewed next week for a 2-month gig, of course, virtually, just outside Beirut, Lebanon. So welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here. I want everybody to take a deep breath and relax. I want you to just enjoy your talk today. You all had time to meet each other before now. Just pretend like you're talking to old friends, and let's get some issues out there and hear your voices. Thank you very much. Maria?
Yeah, well, thank you. I will echo what Susan said. I mean, we're all excited to hear what you have to say. We're excited to hear your voices, your life experiences, and we know that you have a lot to share. So I hope you enjoy the moment. So if you have a camera, you can capture actually the screen. In the meantime, Susan and I agreed on some questions we would like to share with you. And for this first question, we would ask that all the panelists would go about responding based on, I guess, again, their experiences and their thoughts. So the first question is, what inspired you to be a teacher or
Maria?
Want to be a teacher? Yeah,
Maria,
go ahead.
do we want them to introduce themselves first or as they answer the question?
Maybe as they answer the questions, is that okay, Susan?
Perfect.
Okay, so maybe as you are answering the question, you can introduce yourself and then you respond to the question. What inspired you to be a teacher? And you can use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen so that we can actually have more of a structured discussion.
Or you can just jump in, unmute yourself and talk to us.
Yeah, Dhuha, go ahead.
Yeah, I can start us off. Hi, everyone. My name is Dhuha. I'm from Canada, and I'm in my final year at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. So what inspired me to be a teacher? I've always wanted to be a teacher ever since I was young, and I grew up loving school, never really wanting to leave the school system. But, you know, as I got older, I also realized I enjoyed working with kids in particular, like hosting children's programming workshops and things like that, camp counseling, so all sorts of activities that involve working with kids. So I was like, okay, I really do like teaching. And then when I was in high school, I started thinking more about possible careers, and a career in teaching was always at the back of my mind. And then what truly inspired me to be a teacher were my own teachers. So the way that they taught and the impact that they had on me, and that love of learning and the love of school that they instilled in me inspired me to want to do the same in the future as well. So even when I was in high school, I would take little mental notes about what my teachers did that I really liked. And I was like, I want to do that in the future. So I think subconsciously, like I've always wanted to be a teacher, and seeing other teachers teach kind of evoked that in me as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dhuha. And Monnique?
Hello, I am Monnique from Brazil, from Unijuí. I'm an undergraduate student in my third semester. Differently from Dhuha, I've never wanted to be a teacher actually, but as I started working in a school as my first job, I realized that I have a growing concern with the future of the kids and the future of humanity, because they are our future. So this conscience of the importance of today's kids in the future of humanity has inspired me to keep studying and develop myself to maybe help them grow and help them think of what they want for not only their personal future, but the future of humanity. So that's an inspiration from me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Monnique. Anybody else?
I can go next.
Yeah, Sierra, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sierra. I am a first-year elementary school teacher in Ontario, Canada. And I guess what inspired me to be a teacher is I've been fortunate enough to have amazing teachers in my own life. A lot of them have made these lasting memories with me. So when I was growing up, I just always had these memories of these teachers and these moments of connecting with them. And I grew up thinking, well, I'd like to keep making these memories, but in my own way with students. So I started to figure out what age level I'd like to work with, and younger kids I've always been drawn to. There's a lot of game-based learning, so I really got into teaching at a young age, volunteering as much as I could, and then after completing my 2 degrees, one of them in education, one of them sociology and geography, I decided I wanted to go experience other kinds of education besides Canada. So I moved to Spain and started teaching English there, and just kept growing my love of learning in different ways. And so now I'm on my next adventure of teaching grade 4, and it's been going pretty well.
Thank you so much, Sierra. And Shayana?
Hi, everyone. So as Monnique said, I have never wanted to be a teacher. I came from a family, my mother and my dad, they are teachers. So the only thing that I knew was that I didn't want to be a teacher. And then I studied physiotherapy, and also I did a nurse technician course. But then I ended up in here. I cannot deny what is in my veins. But what inspired me to be a teacher, of course, are my mom and my dad. Since I'm a kid, I follow them during their job. So, of course, they inspired me to be a teacher.
Thank you so much, Shayana. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I can go next. My name's Nathaniel. I go to the University of Toronto Scarborough campus. I live in Canada, Toronto specifically. And I was really inspired to be a teacher because I really wanted to make a change and make an impact on people's lives when I was really young. Like that was like the general thing I saw. And I like thought about a lot of different things like that could like get me to be in many people's lives. But I think I settled on teaching just because of like a lot of the flaws that I saw and experienced throughout the years, like from a different perspective than most students. So I would say that like it started with like the general idea of making a change, but then kind of evolved into trying to make the like specific changes, specifically in regards to students that are often ignored and set to the side in our education system today.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Caroline, and please forgive me if I don't pronounce your names correctly, just correct me, okay? I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
Hello, people. My name is Caroline. I'm from Santo Ângelo, Brazil. I'm graduating next weekend, so actually, Juí. Thank you, God. And I have been teaching English since I was like 18 years old. And I have been studying English since I was 10. And what inspired me to be a teacher was my English teachers at an English course where I work today. So it was like to make better people, the reason why I chose to teach English or teach Portuguese and literature. So I don't know, it was because of my teachers that they were my friends, they listened to us, you know, and I have learned from them that we have to know our students. So that's why I'm a teacher now.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And whoever wants to go next.
Thiago.
Hello everybody. My name is Thiago. I'm from Southern Brazil. I'm a third-year student at Unijuí, Languages and Literatures. And what inspired me to be a teacher was when I was in elementary school. I was finishing elementary school, and a teacher came to me and was giving me feedback from an assignment. And that really made me happy to be recognized for something I did, and that really inspired me. And I decided that, well, I want to inspire other people, because that's what I think teaching is. Teaching is inspire other people.
Well, I think
Thanks,
I can speak
Thiago.
on behalf of everyone if I say that you're all inspiring us here by sharing stories behind your choice. Thank you so much. Susan, you can call in your students for sure.
Oh, all right. Andressa, I think you're the only one left. We'd like to hear your voice.
Hello, sorry for the background. I have a little problems about it. But I'm from Ijuí, Rio Grande do Sul. I study at university. I'm the final year of student, and I can be a teacher as soon as possible to teach the students. I don't have experience at class yet, but yes, I can try to be a good teacher and inspire the students to be what they want to be, and they can grow personally and professionally.
Thank you. I think that, have we forgotten anyone?
I don't think so, Susan. And you are the one asking question number 2.
Yes. Okay. What impact would you like to make by being a teacher? I heard many of you say you want to make the world a better place. Okay. Help me understand that. Focus in on that just a little bit for me. What impact would you think you're going to make by being a teacher? Oh, Monnique, I see your hand up, please.
I'm thinking about that a lot. And I think the main thing for me is to help students find a balance between being independent learners, achieving a certain degree of autonomy, but also valuing group work and collaboration and what other people have to bring to the table, what other people have to say and contribute. Because these are two important things, and many problems that we have today is the imbalance between those things. People who are too worried about others and don't have enough self-confidence, or the other way around, people who are too self-confident and don't want to rely on other people for anything. So I'd like to help them find that balance.
I hear in your conversation, Monnique, that you're addressing some 21st century learning outcomes in the impact that you want to make. And I think that's very relevant. I see you nodding your head, Thiago. Why don't you tell us what impact you think you're going to make?
Yeah, I think the same as Monnique. We need to find balance in our lives. And as teachers, we can make this difference in students' life. Well, I really want to work with art, with literature, because I think the world has lost the meaning of literature, the impact that literature can make in our lives. So I really think that I can help my students find themselves in literature and see the world with different lenses, so they can pursue their dreams and believe in themselves.
Wow, that's wonderful. Nathaniel, what impact do you think you're going to make?
I think I would personally like to, well, okay, I'll begin by like explaining my thought process. So like in Canada, like a problem that like I alluded to this earlier, but like a problem I've experienced personally is like how like young Black students, especially males, are kind of like pushed to the side and like discarded in the classroom, right? Like I feel as though, and I've done a bit of research that suggests that these students are like criminally underrepresented when it comes to like getting higher grades, like getting awards and stuff like that, and like even sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yes, they're often underrepresented when it comes to getting the resources that they need. So I think for me, first of all, I want to be like an inspiration that I never had. So seeing someone who looks like me in the classroom and in a role like education, I feel will already be an inspiration, but also being an inspiration through my attitudes and how I act in class and how I interact with the students in class, and just really drive home that I believe that any student can achieve whatever they set their minds to and whatever they have a passion for, as long as they're willing to put in that effort.
That's correct. Students are going to model themselves after how you act, not what you say. Very true.
I just want to add something to what Nathaniel said. Number one, I want to thank you, Nathaniel, for sharing your personal story, because I know that it's not easy to share something that is personal, but also to talk about gaps in our educational system. So thank you for talking about that. Susan, you can go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought it was very powerful in the context of our system. And I think many colleagues and many students around the world may feel that this actually conversation resonates with them as well in a different context. It's all about representation and giving voices to students and to instructors or teachers who may feel that they are marginalized in the system.
Does anybody else have a story that may coincide with students being marginalized? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Any others of you addressing that issue? No? Okay, let's go back to our question about impact. Andressa, tell me, what impact do you think you're going to have?
As Monnique and Thiago said, I will change the thinking of the students to make them to be sure of what they want, of what professional they want to be, and to teach better languages, idioms, and all the content they know they need to be.
Thank you. Sierra?
Sierra, yes, thank you, Susan, go ahead.
Hi, I was going to say that my idea is similar to Thiago, where my main goal is to really foster a love of reading. I think as a first-year teacher, you kind of get shell-shocked seeing how much my students love technology, which has its benefits for sure. But I created this beautiful classroom library, and I find myself always urging them, like, go to the library, or here's the new books of this week. And I just need more diverse ways of getting them to read. So that's been my focus this year, is including different book studies, finding out what books they like, asking them what books they're interested in, what topics, doing group read alouds and book shares. So my main drive this year is increase reading and develop that love of reading from a young age. I'm working with students about 10 years old, and that's, I think, a core time to really harness the love of reading. So that's our goal.
Wow, fantastic. Caroline, what kind of impact do you think you're going to make?
Well, I agree with Monnique and Thiago, and as Andressa said, for those who doesn't know, my final paper was about active methodologies, so I want to keep studying about it, and I always want to know more about how to impact in students' lives. So I think that our educational system is a little bit too traditional. So I think that we have to improve our teaching skills because students are learning in a different way nowadays because we have technology. So we have to, you have to know how they think, how they learn, and do the best for them to learn what we want. And not just the content, but the skills, because they have to be independent, they have to be engaged, and they have to think critically. So that's what I think. They must solve problems in different contexts. So that's why that's what I want to do.
Thank you. Monnique, I see your hand is up. Let me give these two people a chance and then I'll come to you. Dhuha, what kind of impact do you think you're going to be able to make?
Yeah, honestly, I loved hearing the diversity in everyone else's answers so far. I loved hearing everyone's different perspectives. But for me, I was thinking about this, and I genuinely want school to be an exciting place for students to be. So I don't want students to dread going to school, but to know about all of the excitement that awaits them. And I want them to enjoy learning and thinking and connecting with their peers. So I feel like a lot of students nowadays really do dread going to school, and they get really excited when they get a day off. But I would want for the students in my classroom to really enjoy just being there and to have school be that place of security for them. So if they feel the sense of security at school, then I'm confident that that foundation will allow the rest of their learning to follow through as well. So if I could create this classroom full of learners that are just happy to be there and they're happy to learn, then that would be ideal. But even if I'm able to do that with just one student and have them embrace their learning journey and feel welcomed at school, and looking forward to learn something new, I think that would be a nice way to know that I'm inching towards that overall goal.
Thank you. Shayana.
Oh, first, that was so beautiful, Dhuha. And the same, I wanted kids to enjoy going to school, to be there for them and to be with them in this beautiful process of learning new things and new contents. So same as Dhuha, for them to feel welcome to the school and not to be afraid because of tests or something like that, just to be here and enjoy being there learning. I guess that's it.
Thank you. Monnique, I see your hand up.
I just wanted to make a quick observation about what you said about diversity. It's kind of included in what I said about valuing other people's work views and collaborating with other people, because that requires students to actually look at the other people, and that by that I mean everyone, every kind of people. So I think that personally it's something that we can do on a personal level as teachers, and of course there has to be public policies to encourage all kinds of people to come to school, to include them. But as teachers, we can help raise consciousness in the new generations by making them see others as valuable as well, and also getting minorities to trust themselves a little more, to be more self-confident. So that's kind of included if you think about it.
Wow, thank you all. Those are excellent impacts that you're going to have as your goals. Thank you so much. Maria, I think it's over to you.
Yes, it is. So Susan and I thought about this a twofold question. So I hope you don't mind. Actually, it's a two-part question. So feel free to answer both of them at the same time. Answer the first half, come back to the second half, whatever you feel comfortable. So the question is, what are some of the highlights of being a student educator or first-time teacher? So depending on your situation, whether you are a student educator or first-time teacher, what are some of the highlights of this experience? Obviously, you can talk about post-COVID, COVID, before COVID, it doesn't matter. And the second part of the question, for those who have taught for a year, has your experience lived up to your expectations? Okay. So whoever wants to jump in.
I can jump in. So thank you, Maria. It is my first time teaching. So I think the highlight is you come in searching for new materials all the time. If I imagine that when I'm in my teaching career a lot longer, I'll have all these resources and be ready to go. But as a first year teacher, you're kind of like scatterbrained and want to do everything all at once. So I have all of these ideas that I just keep throwing at the kids. They're like my guinea pigs. And it's really exciting to just be a first year teacher because these are your first group of students that you're going to build those lasting memories with. But you're also developing your teacher toolbox with them and you're seeing what works, what doesn't. How can I improve? What worked in that lesson and what to do in the future. And for the second part, I think it's been beyond my expectations. It's a huge learning curve. So it's been exciting just doing new activities with the students. For example, I've been really fortunate enough where my school has a dedicated time called clubs and committees time, where my class gets to pick a new activity to focus on that week that isn't necessarily aligned with curriculum, but could be any type of life skill. So one week we might do sign language class where we're all practicing sign language. The next week we might be doing Lego club. So it's been really cool to experience that with the students and come together as a community and create those memories of these exciting activities. So I look forward to doing more of that.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sierra. Nathaniel.
I think going into the class, I've been doing like, not like traditional, like straightforward teaching, but I've been working with children for like 4 or 5 years now. And I think the thing that I enjoy most is specifically, like, I feel like there's this kind of like stereotype that kids are like bad and like unruly and they're going to be hard to control, but they're really not. And I really love like the pure love that they often show to you while you're teaching, especially the younger grades. Like, they're so willing just to say what's on their mind and be open and out there. It's almost refreshing because as an adult, there's so many like social cues and stuff and things that we can and can't say and all that kind of stuff. But with kids, it's like, I really love purple. What's your favorite color? And it's just like, it's so refreshing to be in that crowd and experience that love that they have for you.
Thank you for sharing, Nathaniel. I was laughing when you mentioned purple because I remember that I was one of those kids. I really love red. You better love red too. So thank you, Nathaniel. Dhuha?
Yeah, similar to Nathaniel, I'm also not like a full-fledged teacher yet, but I've been teaching various age groups for a few years. And I wasn't expecting this to be my highlight, but when a student mentions something that came up in an earlier class and they make the connection, I get so excited seeing that they actually understood the concept and now they're bringing it back up in a later class unprompted. Or if I ask a question and they're like, you can see the gears turning in their brains, I feel like that's been a highlight for me for sure.
That's a beautiful story to share. Thank you, Dhuha. Monnique?
I hadn't thought of what Dhuha said, but that is a really great highlight. I've had that happen to me as well, and it sparked something in my heart that I didn't know existed, right? And other highlight that I would mention is well, I've said in the chat before that there's a great satisfaction in seeing children developing and growing in all aspects, personal and content. Like, It's amazing, and also learning different ways of thinking with the kids. When they get to an answer, whether it's a right or wrong answer, and you try to understand how they got to that answer, and you realize that you had never thought that way before. I love these moments. And also when they overcome a great personal challenge and you see that sparkle in their eyes, those are things that keep me going.
Thank you so much, Monnique. Susan, you want to call on your students?
Sure. Who hasn't answered this? Has everyone answered this question? Are we moving on, Maria? Or are we still with this question?
I think we have time since the last panel is not here, so we can ask more of your students to answer this question if they are willing.
Sure. Anybody have some ideas? What's your best experience? What is the highlight of being a student educator? Anybody have a highlight they'd like to share with us?
I actually remember something. I was in a teaching training program the last year, and I've been teaching 6th grade, and we were discussing morphology, and some student came to me and said, well, but why is this word formed that way? Why do we build our sentences that way? And that's something that we as adults don't stop to think about. We don't wonder about those things. And we created, from that question, we created an environment in the class of research. And they were so excited because kids are natural researchers, and they love discovering things for themselves. And that was a highlight in my year, because they came to me in the following weeks and said, well, I was researching for another thing, and I discovered that thing about our language. And that was so gratifying for me, because they were really getting into studying Portuguese in that case, and they were enjoying doing it.
That's so important, but I bet you set up the classroom so that you did some interesting things to hold their attention. Am I right, Thiago? I know you. I bet you made it very appealing. Shayana, any highlight? Did you share a highlight yet?
I was thinking about, but something that happened to me last week. I'm starting teaching in a new school this week. So last week I was introduced to the classes, and it's preschool. So they're all kids from 2 to 6 years. And in the last class that they were 5 to 6 years, there was a boy, and he has autism. And then when the principal introduced me, he started to jump in front of me. Yay, we are going to learn English. I love English. It's so nice. And I started to cry. I felt my heart, as Monnique said, my heart pumped so hard, and I couldn't control myself. I started to cry. And then they create a line and started to hug me and thank me for being there. And it was something that really warmed my heart. And I was just thinking about that right now. And oh, I'm gonna get emotional right now again. But it was something that it's pretty amazing in our professions, right? When the students, they are just there and they thank us for being there for them as well. So it was pretty nice and pretty beautiful. It was a pretty moment of my life.
That is a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing it with us, Shayana. Andressa, can you think of anything that stands out for you?
Assif, I don't know if I pronounce your name correct, but she said about a thing very important about search materials. I think this is the most difficult thing for me to to find a good material, because here it's not a very easy thing to find, you know, but depending on the content. So we want that all the things work correctly, but not always the things will work correctly. So find these materials and the movies and etc. It's a little bit difficult.
Thank you.
Susan, do you want to answer that question as well? Because I feel that it's also, we can jump in just to share what are the highlights of our teaching careers respectively.
Would you like to start off, Maria?
I was thinking about it as our friends here were sharing so many wonderful stories and very touching ones. I started teaching when I turned 16. I was tutoring kids, actually English. And I'm in my mid 40s, so don't tell anybody. But so I've been teaching for 30 years. I cannot believe it, actually. And I think the thing that surprised me all the time about teaching is that I always find that joy within me. Every morning I go to school, I meet students, I talk to colleagues. There is something about that. I call it lifestyle, really. It's not just about, you know, teaching in a classroom, but it's a lifestyle of being an educator, to think about education, to think about where students will go, to have that joy when they send you emails saying, we graduated, or you see them in the graduation ceremony and you hug them. I think there's something that is so gratifying for me personally, but I also feel it's gratifying for students to know that there is a person, hopefully there are many people in their lives, but at least for me, that is behind them 100%. And I love supporting their journeys as well. And you can go ahead, Susan.
That's lovely, Maria. Actually, most of you know that I no longer work at the university because the ministry has an age limit. So my biggest reward for having been an assistant professor is the fact that I see my students in town. I see them on the street. I went to get my booster vaccine, and one of my students was in charge of the data entry at this clinic. Well, I felt like I was a princess. Doctora, come with me, let me show you. So everywhere I go in town, I can hear them yell behind me, Doctora, Doctora, because Arabic's masculine and feminine. So doctor would be masculine and I would be Doctora. And I think that every day I have a new experience because I run into all my students. When I'm testing IELTS, people walk in and say, Doctora, and I'm like, did I have you as a student? I used to have classes of 100. No, but we know you from campus. So I think that's my biggest reward, is that I see these people and they smile and they were genuinely pleased that they were my student. That's it.
Thank you.
Anybody
for sharing,
else?
Susan. Should we go to question number 4?
Number 4,
yours.
It's mine, I think. Okay, everyone, I want you to sit back a little bit, put your imagination hats on, and pretend that this little elf came up and gave you, or maybe you rubbed a lens lamp that's in my front, on my table over there, and you got one wish. And you could teach anywhere in the whole world, anywhere. So my question to you is, where would you want to teach? Think about it. Anywhere in the whole world, where would you want to teach? Jump in. Maria, how about you? You want to answer that one?
Yeah, I would love to teach for a year somewhere in Italy. I visited Italy once and it was a dream vacation. And I just felt, you know what, I need to go back, not as a tourist, but actually as somebody who will live there. I feel that it will give me a different experience. But I would say that, yes, I will go there for a term or a year, but then go back to Toronto because I love University of Toronto, Scarborough in particular. And for me, that's home. So we'll go, but come back for home.
Do you speak Italian, Maria?
I wish I could. I dream in Italian. Don't tell me why it's not the case. You know, I have no Italian blood in me. But seriously, I have hours of dreaming Italian. I wake up and I don't remember a word. So that's for another conversation, another conference.
Perfect. Okay. Who's going to go next? We have Italy.
I can go. And I think it's really coming from how cold it is in Canada right now that I'd like to be somewhere warm. Somewhere warmer. I've always thought about either going back to Spain or trying Costa Rica. Just one, to improve my Spanish and take me out of my comfort zone. So it'd be great, like Mary said, to do a year somewhere else, just for that experience and that new way of life and meeting students abroad, and then come back to Toronto where my comfort zone is.
I have to tell you, we all go over on a contract, you know. Oh, I'll just go for 2 years. I said that over 20 years ago when I went to Kuwait, and now I've been in Oman for almost 18 years. You find, especially when you're young, you know, you find that it's a very attractive thing to get these teaching jobs. Every 2 years you can be recruited, you can go to this international school or this international school. It becomes a very nice lifestyle. Anyway, who else? Sorry, Sierra.
I said, you've definitely sold me on it already. You've already convinced me. Pack my bags and go.
Oh, it's fun. Who else has a dream place they'd like to go and teach?
I think if I could, I would probably go to China, actually. I love the like the diverse landscapes. So on the weekends, I would have lots of things I could go see and do. I could go up north, up down south. Like it's a beautiful place with so many different places to see. But teaching wise, I think I said China because like I tried to think of a place where like they wouldn't see a teacher that looks like me very often. And that is like why I'd want to go there, because then like they're being shown other people in the world at a very young age, and that'll make them more comfortable with it as they grow up. And hopefully it's a positive memory that they can rest on and remember that there's people who look different, and that's good.
It's good. Dave's ESL Cafe has tons of jobs in China, if you're serious about that. Shayana, where would you like to go?
I would like to teach in the school where I study, I guess. I'm not sure, but I love the idea of Italy and China and all around the world, maybe 1 year in each place. I'm not sure, but I definitely would love teaching in the school where I studied when I was a kid.
Thank you. Andressa.
It's a difficult question because I love all the places in the world. So I think the United States or Canada, I love these countries. I think it's very nice to teach there.
I think so too. They're both lovely countries. Dhuha, where would you like to go and teach?
Yeah, so when I first thought about it, I was like, I haven't really thought about teaching outside of Canada, not even outside of just Toronto, but if it was like a magical experience and I could just rub a lamp and go somewhere, and I have a very specific reason for it. I would go to Sierra Leone because when I was in high school, I was involved with a lot of fundraising initiatives, and it took 2 years for us to build a school in Sierra Leone. And so I feel like I've always wanted to see the school. I've seen pictures, but I wanted to actually be there. So if I could pick that specific school and just teach there for a little bit, that would be like a dream come true for me.
Oh, it certainly would. What a lovely thing you did when you were in high school, building a school. Monnique, where would you go?
The question has a more philosophical tone for me, actually. I've always studied and taught at private schools. But public schools are the kind of education that I believe in, free for everyone. So I would like to have an experience in public schools, wherever in the world, but a school that's public and free for everyone. I know, and I kind of dread the challenges that come with it, but that's the kind of school that I believe in, that I believe the future of education is, and that's where I would like to work. Also, not only public schools, but public universities. I think university is my goal to work to teach in a university. But let's start with schools.
Great. Thiago.
Well, for a while, I want to teach in Brazil because I feel Brazil really needs good teachers. But I would like to teach some years in Canada because I feel there are some areas that I would like to explore there that we can explore here in Brazil. But I would also love to go to Asia, like Korea, South Korea, Japan, China, and get to know their cultures and get to know their educational systems, and understand how can we integrate these differences in our countries.
Wow, that's great. Caroline, I see you're back. Is your connection stable now? Did you hear the question?
What
Or
I want to teach, what? That's it?
You could teach anywhere in the whole world. You won a prize. You could choose anywhere in the world. Where would you go? Oh, Caroline, I think we lost you again. Oh dear. Well, if she can reconnect, she did message us that she was having problems. If she reconnects, we'll let her tell us her dream job in a dream country. In the meantime, should I turn it back to you, Maria?
Sure, and I will keep in mind, maybe Caroline will come back and can jump in right away. So our next question, what is one major aspect of education in your country you love, and one major area for improvement? So just one that you love and one that you think can be improved. And whoever wants to start, you can get started. You can go ahead, Monnique.
Okay. Something that I just thought these days. I had another answer in mind, but I was reading a discussion about homeschooling, and I realized that homeschooling is kind of not allowed in Brazil, except for very few exceptions. You have to go to the justice system to get it, but it's not allowed basically by law. So kids have kind of a right, and also parents have a duty to expose their kids to different experiences and different worldviews than those that they have in their families. And I think this is really, really great. The parents are obligated by law to enroll their kids in a school from the moment they turn 4. So no homeschooling allowed. And I know there is some controversy that some kids might benefit from it, but in general, I think that having contact with the exterior world outside of their families is good for everyone, basically, and it mitigates a lot of problems that, like family problems that kids can have in their family. So that's something that I think is really great. Besides, we have public schools and also public universities. That's also good stuff that we have. And something that I think needs to be improved is better administration and more investment in public schools, because we know there's an immense inequality between public school students and private school students. And I think that's not a problem of the school being public, but the administration, bad administration, and lack of investment.
Thank you so much, Monnique. Thank you for sharing. And Nathaniel, then Dhuha.
So one thing I specifically like, this is more of a Toronto school board and like Ontario at large more than Canada, but I really like that our curriculum and our education develops and adapts and is constantly revised. For example, when I was in school, which was like when I was in grade school rather, which was only like a decade ago, which is not that long, I didn't learn about like the oppression of Indigenous Canadians and things like that. I didn't learn about many of the atrocities committed throughout history. But today, these are topics that our education system tries to teach us and kind of drives home much more than they did when I was a kid. And I really appreciate that there's a focus on educating kids about what happened, because they can't like of course they can't know all the nitty gritty details, but they can understand that bad things have happened in the past and they affect the present. Now, in terms of what can improve, I think practically implementing this into action and especially with like older teachers who have been in the system for a long time, kind of ensuring that all teachers are held to the similar standard and are practically implementing the equity and diversity that we're teaching the students.
Thank you, Nathaniel. And I agree with you. I think there is a shift, and our Ontario curriculum is flexible enough to allow that change. Thank you for mentioning that. Dhuha, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Nathaniel said about the action front. So I guess we'll start with one aspect of improvement. But I was thinking more on the experiential learning front. So I work as an integrated learning experience assistant, and we work on creating opportunities where students can apply what they're learning in the classroom in the real life. And I was attending a conference recently where they talked about how late in our education we start implementing what we're learning. So if we could have more experiential learning opportunities for younger age students, I think, some teachers might think that's too young for them to start applying what they're learning, but in different forms. They don't have to do like a placement somewhere or get a job, but if they could just have more opportunities to connect what they're learning in class to its real world applications, I think it would help them solidify the concepts that they're learning in class. And a lot of the skills that you developed are called soft skills or transferable skills, but they're genuinely basic life skills that will really help them in other areas of life as well and make them well-rounded learners. So that was one aspect that we could work towards in the future. What I love about the Canadian school system, and I was thinking about this in relation to what I said before about how some countries don't have access to education like we do. Something that I think I took for granted is how easily accessible education is here. You could be living anywhere and there's so much funding available. There's breakfast programs for kids that might not have breakfast at home. There's snack programs. There's so many different and uniform programs. So if students can't afford uniform for a certain school, then they can get discounted uniforms or drop-offs from other grades, So I think like financial accessibility is one, but just also how many schools we have here as well. And I don't know about all of Canada, but especially where I live, education is very, very accessible. So I think that's a major plus point.
I agree, Dhuha. Although I think many of us can agree that many Indigenous communities say that education is not accessible, especially up north. Like some of them, they have to drive or walk for so many kilometers to get to their schools. But I think, as you said, in Ontario, at least in the GTA area, the Greater Toronto area, it's pretty accessible. So I agree with you 100%. Thank you, Dhuha, for sharing. Anybody else, any of our friends who would like to share their thoughts about one major area for improvement and one actually a strong point that they enjoy about their educational system? Sierra?
Yeah, thank you, Maria. What I really love is this shift that we're seeing from standardized testing to inquiry learning. It's really big in Canada right now where, we still have tests every now and then, we can't avoid them, but we're seeing parents and educators really ask for these learning opportunities that aren't standardized tests. And game-based learning is really big, and any kind of group activities or problem solving is growing, and I love to see that because I didn't always have that as a kid. It's just one of those things that we develop over time. And an area to improve, I personally would love to see more activities that are outside of curriculum. So outdoor learning is a big one that I would love to see incorporated in all schools. When I was more up north in Peterborough, it was already incorporated into a lot of schools where they had an outdoor educator come in and take the kids and teach them about trees and plants and all these natural resources. But then when you come back to Toronto, we don't really have that same opportunity because we don't have all these green spaces, or it's just not valued as much. So any type of growth with outdoor education would be amazing to see.
Thank you so much, Sierra. I echo exactly what you said for sure. Thiago?
Well, in Brazil, one really strong force we have here is the bond that we create between teachers and students. We can face our problems and our difficulties through the love we have for education. So it is really a strong point, but we have lots to improve. And other than the investments on education, our curriculum needs to change. Our national curriculum needs to change. Recently, there was some changes in our curriculum, but it is still focused only on the job market and only in sciences and math. So we have all the humanities left aside, but they are a really big constituent of our students. So I really think that we need to improve our vision, our perspective on how the arts, how languages, history, geography can build our students for their lives.
Thank you for sharing, Thiago. Thank you. And of course, giving us, insight into some of these issues and what's wonderful, as you said, the connections between students and teachers. Thank you. Shayana?
I just wanted to follow Thiago's ideas. Here in Brazil, we have free education for everyone if you wanted to study, but we are reduced to a note. So we need to get a note, yes, in a test, and then you can enter a university or something like that. And as Thiago said, we are having a new curriculum experience, and they are removing some pretty important contents in here. And but the way that they evaluate us is still the same. But as the process is changing, they also need to change this part. And I guess it's a pretty difficult thing. And also by the curriculum changing, we have a huge lack of teachers. We don't have teachers. So you can also notice that when we were talking about what inspired us to be a teacher, most like Monnique, we said, oh, I never thought of being a teacher, because it's something that here in Brazil, they do not appreciate, the words just blow out of my mind, but it's not a valuable profession. Can you understand? They do not maybe, I say they as the government, they do not value us as they should. So there's this lack of profession, there's this lack of teachers, and that's why there's no teachers enough in here. So one thing that I'd like to change is the way that they see us, the way that they value us, that's it.
Thank you, Shayana. And I feel that in many parts of the world, I'm sure we see this lack of appreciation for teachers, or I hear a lot from people saying, well, teachers have 3 months of the summer. Why are they getting all this money? I mean, that's a very common statement I hear. So I'm sure that it has to do again with when people think about teaching, they think about the classroom only. They don't really think about, class preparation, the assessment, the grading, professional development, and all the things that go into teaching. So thank you for drawing attention to that important point. Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in? Susan, feel free to ask your students to share their thoughts as well.
Carolina, did you have your hand up?
Yes, now I can you listen to me? Can
We
you hear
hear
me?
you.
Okay.
We hear you.
Okay. I totally agree with Shayana and Thiago. They told about BNCC, and which is a very important document here in Brazil. And I think that Brazilian educational system need to change, but I think that they did it in the wrong way. They changed the curriculum, but they have to, I think that they must teach students how to teach in a different way, because I don't know, in an active way, right, Professor Susan, and including technology in class, because teachers here in Brazil, I don't know, I'm working a regular school now, so I can see the difficulties in a close way. So the teachers don't use technology. They didn't know what is Kahoot, so which I use in every class. They hate to use Google Classroom and Google Docs, which we use every day during the pandemic. So my students didn't know how to write an email. So in high school, so it's very worrying, So that's what I think that we need to change, how we teach and not the curriculum. And we need to teach and work on the skills and content, not just, like in high school, in the second year of high school, they don't have PE anymore, neither history or geography, and neither Spanish they don't have. So only math and Portuguese and English, which it's like mandatory for them to study. So the others, they can choose, oh, I want to choose biology and chemistry and physics. I don't want to study history because I'm not going to use it in the future. So it's a little bit worrying as a teacher.
Carolina, do your classrooms all have access to technology, or are there parts of Brazil where students don't have access?
Well, I teach in two schools. I teach in an English course, so we have like digital boards and iPads and stuff. And on the other school, in the regular school, I barely have access to the internet. So when I want to show a YouTube video, I have to download it, or to before going to school, I have to get it all done and ready for me to show them the video, or I have to go to the ICT classroom for them to play a game on Word Wall or stuff, but they don't have Wi-Fi connection on the school, neither the teachers. So it's very difficult.
That's very challenging. Who hasn't answered here this question from Maria? And Andressa, did you have a chance to answer?
Hey, no, not yet, but I agree with all students and principally with Shayana. She said everything I would just say to you.
Do you want to add anything?
I think it's okay.
Okay, Monnique, Nathaniel, Shayana, Sierra, Thiago, Carolina, and Dhuha. I think everybody's answered that question. Am I correct? Would you like to sum up, Maria, or are we ready to move forward?
I think we're ready for our last question, and you're going to ask it, Susan.
All right. So you can look at this from either the point of view of the student or from you as a teacher. But what are some of the changes you see happening or that you feel need to happen to give a better learning experience? How can we improve the learning experience? You can do it from either the standpoint of the student or from you, the standpoint of the teacher. What do we need to improve? Pick one big thing or pick 2 or 3 small things. Go ahead, Thiago. And then Dhuha.
I think the one big change is that students are becoming more aware of their role in classroom. They want to be active in classroom, but in the other hand, we need teachers to realize that too, because we have a lot of older teachers that don't realize that the center of the classroom is the student. Unfortunately, we don't have much teaching training in Brazil. So you graduate in university and then you teach the rest of your life without qualifying your work. So that's one thing that is unbalanced. So students want to be more active, but teachers don't give them space to be more active and to participate actively in the researches and discussions and building their knowledge.
Continued professional development. And that's the argument against giving teachers tenure because they don't keep up with the times, right? I think that Dhuha, you had your hand up, and then Nathaniel, and then Monnique. Please,
Yeah.
Dhuha.
Thank you. I agree a lot with what Thiago just said right now. Something I was thinking of is the greater shift towards focusing on student health, so whether that's physical or mental health. I've been noticing that a lot more classroom teachers are adding mental health check-ins and little presentations that prioritize learning more about where the student is at mentally. And I think that for any type of learning experience, for any type of learning experience, for students to learn anything at all, they need to be present and secure in that moment. So if they have other stressors in their life, getting insight into that as a teacher is so crucial. And I feel like that's being recognized now. At the same time, I think it can definitely be further developed. I had a student come to me telling me she felt overwhelmed because she had to write a reflection about things that she was going to do to improve her mental health. And I was like, that's so ironic, the fact that she's stressed about this mental health homework that she's been assigned that's supposed to help her cope with the stresses in her life. So she felt like on top of all of her core coursework, now this is adding on to her plate and it was stressing her out. So I think the way it's being done definitely can be further developed, but I like the first step and I think it's crucial for everyone.
Thank you. Very important points. Nathaniel.
Yeah, I was going to talk about how I feel that one of the most important aspects of education, specifically in terms of like later years, I'm talking like grade 7 and forward, like onward from there, is developing students' voices and like giving them the capability to express their opinions. What I mean by this is often in class, like I've even experienced this as an educator, you have the desire to just talk, just make sure they know everything, and keep talking until you feel like they're adequately prepared to know. But sometimes like you have to like it's like you have to let go, right? And like let them kind of let them work with it on their own, let them come to their own realizations, right? Develop, like let the, I guess, gears in your head kind of turn, let their gears turn, right? So not hand holding too much and letting the students experience that themselves. And through that, I believe that students will better be able to express themselves because they have experience like thinking through problems instead of teachers just giving it to them, right? So really just developing that ability not to talk as much. I know teachers as a profession, we love to talk, so.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Monnique.
Going to follow a lot of what Thiago and Nathaniel said. I think we as teachers have the role of facilitators in kids learning, and we're not know-it-alls who have to just give them the knowledge that we have. So us as teachers, we have to be conscious that we do not know everything and that we make a lot of mistakes, because as people, as individuals, and also as a global education community, we are still learning a lot. We still have a lot to learn, an awful lot to learn. We have a lot to study. Science has a lot to discover about human learning and teaching and all the process that come with it. So we have to be conscious that we need to be constantly studying, constantly improving, getting better, and not only in our area of, like, if I am a language teacher, I have to study not only language and the recent discoveries of science in language, but everything that could have an impact on it, you know, understand social issues, understand a little bit of psychology even, and cognitive science, you know. Not that we have to become specialists, but we have to study a lot, and we have to be conscious that we will make mistakes, and we have to be honest with students when we realize we are making mistakes, or when they ask us something that we do not know, and we have that opening to tell them that we do not know that, instead of just making something up, you know, saying, I don't know, let's find it out together, let's research it, and be honest with them, knowing that they have their role and they are the center of everything, and we're not know-it-all.
Very good points. Thank you, Monnique. Andressa.
Yes, I think we could study more and be capable to teach the students and learn from the students too, not only from the books, and try always our best to make the education be better.
Thank you, Andressa. Shayana.
As most of us had said, I guess to focus on the student. I was following here the chat, and absolutely, we need to be, as teachers, also to learn with the students, and they are the focus in the class. So this is something also from the other question that maybe we need to change in here. We still think that the teacher is the focus, and I guess Nathaniel said that we need to talk all the time, and the focus are the students. So let them talk, let's hear them, and hear what they wanted to say.
Thank you, Shayana. Caroline.
Well, I agree with all of you. And what Nathaniel said, on the school that I used to work, we had a teaching talking time where we should be careful on how much time we use in class talking, because students must talk more than us. So as Shayana bring to us, we need to focus on the students' learning process, and we need to teach in a meaningful way, bring things from their context, bring things from their lives. And even if we have to teach like food, we, if possible, go to the supermarket with students so they can learn about countables and uncountable nouns, I don't know, but teach in a meaningful way. That's what we need to do. Because I don't know you, but I don't know when do we use báscara. I don't know how to say formula in English, but I know how to do the maths, but I don't know when we use it in real life. So that's why what I'm telling you, we need to teach in a meaningful way, and students must know that they can use the content in real life, not just in class and study for a test or for a vestibular, or I don't know.
Thank you, Caroline. Caroline, we left when you got bumped off the internet. We had asked you a question, so I'm going to back up here and ask you, if you could teach anywhere in the world, where would you go?
maybe somewhere in Africa, because before I die, I really want to teach as a volunteer. So I think that as Brazil as well, because we need teachers. So if everybody wants to come to teach in Brazil, yeah, come here, because we need teachers. So anywhere in Africa or anywhere, teachers are needed. So yeah, that's why I want to teach anywhere.
Great, thank you, Caroline. Well, I think everybody's had a chance to answer our questions. And I want to personally thank you all for joining us today. You've been a fantastic roundtable. And the more questions we asked and the more we talk, I see you guys are totally relaxed. You're so into it and participating. I think you might even be enjoying it, having a good time. So I see you laughing at me, but I guess that means you agree with me, yeah? Maria, how do you think?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I was really impressed with the quality of this conversation. And I want, first of all, to thank all the students and the junior teachers for being here. I know that this is a Sunday in most countries, and I know that you're sacrificing part of your weekend to be here. So I want to say that we appreciate you. We appreciate your contributions and your generosity in sharing your personal experiences, but also your pedagogical approaches to the classroom and beyond. And we also want to thank those who are in attendance, and obviously the two Vlads for really organizing this and making it happen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would like to thank you all too. This was so powerful and so inspiring. And the main takeaway, let me just see if my head is visible or it is old. It is there. Well, it tends to disappear after sunset. But the greatest takeaway for me, and I think for all of us, is that we have a very bright future. Humanity has a very bright future with you as teachers. And what I specifically love that many of you emphasize that the focus should be on students. And yes, it should be on students, not only to help them learn what's in the textbook, but always remember that those students are your teachers too. And each of them has to them very unique story that is more valuable. I know that many teachers wouldn't agree. My teachers wouldn't agree anyway, but I'll still say it, more valuable stories than anything you'll find in any textbook. And don't ever allow that you become one of those teachers who get lost in the textbooks and completely get detached for the real life. Yes, always stay focused on students. And as I said, yeah, our humanity has a very, very bright future with you. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this panel.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.